Okay, sharing a little bit more info here on this TCE discoveries. We're a couple of weeks into this at this point, 2 weeks, and I've had some like two steps forward, one step back, which is kind of frustrating, but really that's just the way anything goes, and I should just expect it and not. I think so many times when we kind of make a discovery, we have a light bulb moment. We think like from now on it'll be that way, but I don't know that that's necessarily the case. And I think even if it is the case, it still takes time to kind of like actually ingrain and learn it. Anyway, one of the things that I felt over the last week, I've felt again like I've had a hard time like getting that tongue placement, and just like feel like I've kind of like lost it, like kind of lost the revelation that I had before, and at a bad time too, because I've just started playing this really demanding musical in a local production. It runs for 3 weeks. We had a week of rehearsals basically, and then like 3 weeks of performances of four performances a week. So, and it's pretty demanding. It's essentially it's the production of Big Fish, but they took the Broadway book, which was really not that tough, but they eliminated all. This has nothing to do with TCE, but anyway, they eliminated all the brass book and put it into one. So instead of trumpet, horn, and trombone, it's all just in trumpet, and all those parts are in the trumpet. And so, unlike every other musical that I've played, I just played West Side Story. I think earlier this year, played trumpet one on West Side Story. It went fine. But this one I am playing all the time, and it's exhausting. And I'm playing everything I'm playing like trombone stuff in the low register. I'm playing like long sustained French horn type stuff in the middle register. I'm playing high trumpet stuff. It's exhausting. So a bad time for me to feel like I'm losing the revelation that I had with TCE. But I was thinking about a couple of things that I'd been like sort of learning lately, and one was from Rich Colquhoun. He was talking about how he thinks with when he teaches students about TCE, he initially, rather than worry too much about like the arch of the tongue and the bevel and all that stuff, he just tries to get them to like tongue through their teeth to the lips and start that way. So as I was like kind of like, all right, I need to sort of refine this thing because I've lost the feeling. I'll just go back to that. Let me just go back to like that and tonguing. And that kind of like started to kind of bring this other realization close. And that was, as I think about the buzzing, spit buzzing or any kind of buzzing, for the longest time, I used to buzz the way that a lot of people do, where it's pull back and like that. But then after trying to figure out TCE like in the early 2000s, I started changing my buzz where my tongue is kind of sitting on my teeth, and it allows it to be able to buzz much more efficiently, like that. So my tongue's just sitting on my bottom teeth. It's in contact with the bottom lip, and I think technically there is a bit of an arch to it, but I think it's because your tongue is naturally a little bit arched. I'm not thinking to arch it, okay? And so I was just kind of playing around with that, literally sitting in the pit during rehearsal this week, and was kind of thinking about that, and was like, my chops were getting tired. And when I do that buzz, that bottom lip is forward in between my teeth, like that. I can flutter without that, like that. But I find that when I move that tongue forward, getting it to be a little quicker without being, it's not like violent, but it's a little quicker. Feels like it gets a little more centered here, which can be helpful sometimes, And then I noticed if I just thought, here I'm getting to the TCE content finally as we're 4 minutes into this video. But I noticed instead of trying to think of like the arch or the bevel or any of that kind of stuff, or the wedge, I just literally was thinking about like, if here's my teeth, like, and like my lips are over here. So let's say here's my lips and like my teeth are here. I just would think about moving the tongue forward and backwards. And in my mouth, it feels a little bit almost like I'm doing this, because I'm not thinking to curve my tongue. My tongue is just already slightly curved. I think, like I said, I think naturally in repose in my mouth, I think it's already kind of like that. So I'm just thinking about moving my tongue forward and backward, and not necessarily thinking of like arching it up to the teeth. Does that make sense? Because as I arch it up to the teeth, that's where it just doesn't feel right. I can't get things to work properly. And so what I found is by doing that buzz and just moving my tongue forward and backwards, I'm not trying to even buzz higher. I'm just moving it forward. It's kind of, I think that's it. I think that's what we're doing here. And then of course, when we add a little bit of restriction, like mouthpiece restriction, or you could even just use your finger. You get more defined to the buzz that way. So I've been kind of just playing around with that and finding that as I move that over to the trumpet, that like it's having results, it's having effects. Like I'm finding like, I'm getting that feel back again. So if you're like me, that you've had a hard time like getting this, maybe that's the thing. Maybe you've like got the book, you're reading the instructions, and you're trying to put a lot of bevel and arch in the tongue, and maybe just kind of look in your mouth and see like, I already have it. So instead of trying to do that initially while you're trying to get this feeling, and maybe down the road I'll have more revelations and epiphanies and I'll think differently. But for right now, as I'm just like, baby steps here trying to figure this out, I think like that, just thinking moving it forward and backwards. And it reminds me of something. I took a lesson with Brian Davis from YouTube fame and plays with the Ellington Orchestra. And I'm not sure what all he plays with. He plays with a lot of things. Great player. He's on YouTube. If you're watching my channel, you've likely seen his channel too. He's a great player, much better player than I am, professional player. But I took a lesson with him because, like I said, I was kind of like trying to get unstuck. And he said that something to me that I thought was really interesting. I should do a whole video on this some other time. But he talks about rather than tongue level or tongue arch, he thinks about tongue closeness, how close it is to the lips. And as he goes higher, he thinks about moving the tongue closer. Now, I'm not saying that Brian's using TCE because I don't know if he is or isn't. I don't think he's like that into the mechanics of it. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak for him, but I got the impression he just wasn't thinking about that as much. Yeah, he said that too, and he's a phenomenal player with a phenomenal register. So I think there's something to be said for that. So you might kind of try that. If like me, you're trying to learn this, or if you're an expert in this already, please give me comments on like how you think about it. But like I said, the tongue's already beveled, it's already kind of arched in your mouth normally. So just think about tonguing to the lips through the teeth, and moving just the tongue forward and backward to raise pitch, and see if that helps you. Does it help? Let me know in the comments.